The night on the abandoned colony world was colder than usual. The wind carried dust like needles, and the metal walls of Ray Carter's small cabin shook every few minutes. Ray, a quiet human engineer, was working on a broken power cell when he heard a strange noise outside, a heavy crash followed by a sharp, painful cry. At first, he thought it was an animal. Creatures often wandered near the old mining fields. But then he heard something else, a voice, weak, trembling, almost begging. Ray froze. No human lived within 50 kilometers. And that voice, it didn't sound human at all. Very slowly, Ray reached for the lantern on his table and stepped toward the door. His heartbeat was loud in his ears. He had lived here for 3 years and had never heard anything like this. When he opened the door halfway, a cold gust slammed into him. The second thing that hit him was shock. A tall alien woman was lying on the ground, right outside his cabin. Her armor was cracked. Her skin, a pale silver blue color, was covered in dust and blood. Her long dark hair stuck to her face, and her breathing was sharp and painful. She was trying to move, but her body kept failing. Even in such a broken state, she looked strong, like a warrior who had fought too many battles and finally lost one. Ray stepped back, unsure whether to help or run. Then her eyes opened, bright gold, glowing softly even in the darkness. She lifted her head with great effort, looked straight at him, and whispered something that made his blood run cold. "Human. Please, I need a mate. I need you, or I will die." Ray blinked hard, convinced he heard wrong. "What?" he whispered. The alien woman struggled to sit up. Her hands shook as she reached forward and grabbed his wrist. Her fingers were cold, but her grip was unbelievably strong. "Please," she said again. "My body is shutting down. I need a mate to survive. You are the only one here." Ray pulled his hand back, shocked and confused. I don't know what you're talking about." She collapsed again, still trying to keep her arms stretched toward him. Her voice became weaker. "My name is Ravina. I escaped my captors. They hurt me. They marked me. I cannot live alone in this condition. My people, my biology. We need a mate when we are dying." Ray had heard rumors of certain alien species with bonding rituals, but never anything like this. And never so directly. A sudden sound behind the nearby rocks made him turn sharply. Footsteps. Heavy. Multiple. Ravina's eyes widened with fear. "They're coming," she whispered. "They tracked me. They want me back. They won't stop." Ray looked into the darkness. He couldn't see anyone yet, but he could hear them, deep voices speaking in a strange tongue. They were searching for her. Ravina tried to stand, but her legs failed. She fell forward, and Ray instinctively caught her before she hit the ground. Her body shook with pain. She looked up at him again, not with hunger, not with desire, but with desperation. "Don't leave me. Please." Ray hesitated for one long second, and that second felt heavy like a lifetime. He was just an engineer. Not a soldier. Not a hero. But something in Ravina's eyes. Something in the way she begged for life. It broke through his fear. He made a choice. "Come on," he said softly, lifting her with both arms. "Inside, now." Ravina tried to speak, maybe to thank him, but her voice faded. Ray carried her inside and kicked the door shut. He locked all 3 bolts and pulled down the metal security bar. Outside, the voices were getting louder. Ravina leaned against his shoulder, barely conscious. Her skin was hot now, burning from internal damage. Ray gently lowered her onto a blanket on the floor and rushed to fetch his medical kit. He wasn't a doctor, but he knew basic first aid. When he returned, Ravina caught his sleeve weakly. "You should not help me," she whispered. "If they find you, they will kill you too." Ray forced a small, nervous smile. "Too late. You already collapsed on my doorstep." Now let's keep you alive." Her eyes softened, a strange mix of surprise and confusion. "No human has ever protected someone like me," she whispered. Ray didn't know what she meant. There was no time to ask. A sudden beam of red light passed through his window. A scanner. Ravina's breathing stopped for a moment. "They're here." Ray grabbed his lantern, shut it off, and crouched beside her. Outside, footsteps thudded on the ground. Metallic voices spoke something sharp and angry. "Scan again," one of them ordered. "Her trail ends here," another growled. Ravina reached for Ree's hand again, squeezing tightly. "If they find me, don't let them take me. Kill me first." Ray felt a chill run down his spine. "Ravina, I won't let them take you." Outside, someone banged on the door. Ray tightened his grip on Ravina's hand. The real danger was just beginning. Asterisk. The banging on the metal door finally stopped. But the silence afterward felt even more dangerous. Ray kept his hand near the emergency switch that controlled his cabin's blackout shutters. Every sound outside felt heavier, like the entire night was waiting to break. Ravina lay weakly on the blanket, her breathing uneven, her golden eyes flickering open every few seconds. She looked like a warrior who had fought until her last drop of strength. But something inside her was still refusing to die. Ray knelt beside her again, keeping his voice low. "They're scanning around the cabin, but they haven't tried to break in yet." Ravina swallowed painfully. "They will not leave. They don't stop until they catch what they call runaway property." Ray frowned. "Property? They called you that?" Ravina nodded slowly, her face twisting with shame and anger. "My people. The ones hunting me. They are not my tribe. They are slavers. They take females of warrior clans and use them for breeding." She paused to breathe. "I escaped, but they marked me with a shutdown cycle. If I do not bond with a mate, my body collapses." Ray tried to understand. "So that's why you asked for a mate at my door?" She closed her eyes for a moment, fighting tears she didn't want him to see. "Yes, I hate it. I hate that they made me dependent. But I did not come to hurt you. I only wanted to live a little longer." Ray felt his chest tighten. He had met many alien travelers over the years, but none with a story like hers. Outside, the gravel cracked under heavy boots. Ray peeked through the small gap in the shutter. 3 tall alien warriors were scanning the area. Their armor glowed faint orange, their faces hidden behind masks. "They're still searching," Ray whispered. Ravina's fingers curled into the blanket. "They will break in soon." Their leader, Kareth. He always likes to take stolen females alive, so he can punish them personally. Her voice shook. "I have seen what he does. I would rather die." Ree's jaw tightened. He had never felt protective anger like this before. Not this strong, not this fast. "Ravina, you're safe here." "No," she whispered, trembling. "Not safe. Not until they are gone. Not until they are dead or far away." Ray forced himself to think. He wasn't a soldier. He didn't own a powerful weapon. All he had were tools. And his mind. "Tell me everything," he said. "What exactly are they? How many? What do they want?" Ravina hesitated, studying him. She didn't understand why a human would risk anything for her, but something about Ray wasn't like others she had known. Humans were supposed to be weak, selfish, afraid. Yet this one was none of those things. "They are Zarkan hunters," she explained softly. "A small group. 3 outside, but maybe more in the shadows. They use tracking drones, stun rifles, energy ropes. They never hunt without orders. And they never stop." Ray leaned back, rubbing his forehead. "So they'll keep circling until they break in?" "Yes, and if they take you?" "They will breed me until I die," she said quietly. Ray felt heat rise in his chest, not fear, but rage, That's not happening. Ravina blinked. She wasn't used to anyone standing with her. Why do you care? She asked weakly. Why would a human risk his life for me? Ray opened his mouth, but the words didn't come out at first. Finally he said, because you're not property. And no one deserves what they're planning to do. Her eyes softened, the golden glow dimming with exhaustion. You sound like the old stories of my tribe. They said humans were strange creatures. They fight for others, even when they gain nothing. Ray gave a small, nervous smile. Maybe some of us do. Before either of them could speak again, a loud mechanical click echoed outside, and the power lines on the cabin wall flickered. Ravina's eyes widened. They found your generator. They're cutting power. When the lights die, they will attack. Ray cursed under his breath. He hurried to secure the back door and grabbed a pulse wrench, the closest thing he had to a weapon. Ravina tried to sit up, but her body convulsed. She gasped in pain, clutching her ribs. Ray rushed to her side and helped her lean against the wall. I can fight, she insisted. You can barely breathe, Ray replied gently. Ravina grabbed his wrist again, her grip weaker this time. When they enter, don't let them take me alive. Ray met her eyes. I'm not letting them take you at all. The cabin lights flickered once, twice, then died completely. Darkness swallowed the room, and the real hunt began. The darkness inside Ree's cabin felt heavy, almost alive. Without power, the place became a silent box of shadows. Only the faint glow from Ravina's golden eyes offered any light. Ray kept one hand on the wall, the other gripping his pulse wrench tightly. He whispered, "Stay low. Stay quiet." Ravina nodded weakly, but her breathing was sharp. Every breath sounded like she was pulling fire into her lungs. Her body was close to shutting down again. Outside, footsteps circled the cabin, slow, confident, unhurried. The hunters knew their target was inside. They weren't in a rush. A deep metallic voice called out, "Ravina, come out. We know you're alive." Ravina flinched. The voice belonged to Kareth, the hunter leader. Even in her broken state, fear tightened her jaw. Ray whispered, "How does he know your name?" "He marked me," she whispered back. "He was supposed to claim me." Ree's stomach twisted. "Claim you? Like property?" Ravina closed her eyes. "Yes." A second voice joined in, cold, almost amused. "Human," it called. "We know you are inside too. Step away from the female. She belongs to us." Ray swallowed hard but did not answer. A slow tapping began on the metal wall, something scraping in circles. Testing for weaknesses. The hunters were analyzing the cabin. Ravina grabbed Ree's sleeve. "They will break the door soon." Ray took a deep breath. Let them try. He wasn't a fighter, but he was not giving her up. Not now. Not after what he had seen in her eyes. Helplessness mixed with a will to live. Suddenly, a heavy thud hit the door. Then another. Then a third, harder, stronger, shaking the entire cabin. Ray rushed to the door and pushed his shoulder against it, trying to reinforce it. Ravina tried to stand, but her legs buckled immediately. She fell back down with a small cry. Ray turned toward her. "Stay down, please, you'll hurt yourself." Her glowing eyes lifted toward him, full of frustration and pain. "I am a huntress," she whispered. "I should be fighting beside you. But my body won't obey." Ray knelt and squeezed her shoulder gently. "You don't need to fight right now. Let me handle it." Ravina's chest tightened. She didn't understand humans, especially him. Why would this small, fragile species stand in front of her? Why would he protect someone like her? Another slam hit the door. This time, metal bent. Ray jumped back. "They're using a battering tool." Ravina's voice trembled. "He will take me. He always takes what he wants. Ray clenched his teeth. Not tonight. The next hit cracked the doorframe. Dust fell from the ceiling. Wooden planks groaned under the pressure. Then everything went silent. The quiet felt like a trap. Ray raised the pulse wrench, ready to swing. Suddenly, boom! The entire door tore off its hinges and flew inside. Slamming against the opposite wall, cold night air rushed into the cabin. 3 tall figures stood in the doorway, armored. Masked, their orange visor lights glowing in the dark. The leader, Kareth, stepped forward. His armor was darker than the others, marked with sharp red lines like scars. He scanned the room and fixed his gaze on Ravenna. "There you are," he growled. "Broken, but still valuable." Ravenna tried to crawl backward, but her limbs shook. Kareth reached down, grabbing her by the arm. Ray didn't think. He just moved. He swung his pulse wrench with full force and hit Kareth's wrist. A burst of blue sparks exploded, forcing the alien to let go. Kareth turned sharply toward Ray, his voice lowered with anger. "You dare touch a hunter?" Ray didn't back down. "She's not your property." Kareth took a step closer. "She was bred to be claimed." Ray raised the wrench again. "Not by you." The other 2 hunters spread across the room, blocking every escape path. For a moment, Ray realized how hopeless this was. He was one human with a tool, facing 3 armored warriors, but then he felt something warm on his leg. Ravenna had crawled closer and grabbed his boot weakly. "Ray," she whispered. "Run, please." He shook his head. "I'm not leaving you." Kareth lifted his stun rifle. "Human, step aside. This is your last chance." Ray tightened his grip and shifted into a defensive stance. "Then take your last chance and leave." For a second, Kareth simply stared, surprised that a human would stand up to him. Amusement flickered in his eyes. "You fight for her? You protect a dying female?" Ray's voice was steady. "I protect someone who deserves better than you." Kareth's expression hardened. "Then die with her." He raised his rifle, but before he could fire, Ray slammed the wrench into the fuse box beside the wall. A burst of electricity exploded through the cabin. Lights flashed. Sparks flew, and the entire building plunged into smoke and chaos. The fight had begun. Sparks rained across the cabin as the fuse box exploded, filling the room with smoke. The sudden flash blinded the hunters for a moment. Ray didn't wait. He grabbed Ravenna under her arms and dragged her behind the workbench. "Stay low," he whispered, coughing. Ravenna tried to speak, but her voice was barely air. "Ray, they will kill you." He shook his head, gripping the pulse wrench tightly. "Not if I move first." Kareth roared through the smoke, furious. "Human, come out and die with honor." Ray almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because fear had reached its peak. Honor? He wasn't fighting for honor. He was fighting because Ravenna deserved to live. One of the hunters fired blindly into the cabin. Blue stun bolts blasted the furniture into pieces. Ray ducked just in time as a burst of energy burned through the workbench. "They are firing too much," Ravenna whispered weakly. "They want to disable you before taking me." Ray glanced at her pale face. Sweat, dust, and pain mixed together. She didn't look like a warrior now. She looked like someone who had lost everything and still refused to give up. A heavy thud echoed. One of the hunters had jumped over the fallen door and stood near the center of the room. Searching through smoke, Ray's heart raced. This was his chance. He slid across the floor silently and positioned himself behind the hunter. The alien paused. Ray held his breath. Then with every bit of strength he had, he swung the pulse wrench into the back of the hunter's knee. The alien let out a metallic cry as his leg collapsed. Ray jumped forward and smashed the wrench into the back of the alien's helmet. Sparks burst, and the hunter dropped. One down. Ray whispered, panting. But the moment of victory didn't last long. Kareth's deep voice cut through the smoke. "Human. You think that matters?" His silhouette appeared, tall, broad, and furious. He charged. Ray barely dodged as Kareth swung a crushing hit that shattered part of the wall. Ray stumbled backward, feeling the shockwave shake through his entire arm. Kareth lunged again, aiming for Rhee's throat, but Ravina, barely conscious, pushed herself toward them and grabbed Kareth's ankle. Her body trembled violently, but she held on with whatever strength she had left. It slowed Kareth for only half a second. But it was enough. Ray jammed the pulse wrench right into Kareth's chest plate and activated it. A burst of energy shot through the alien leader. He growled in pain and staggered backward. His armor flickered as circuits overloaded, but he wasn't down. He wasn't even close. He ripped the wrench out of Rhee's hand and threw it across the room. It skidded under a broken shelf. "You fight like a child," Kareth snarled. "You protect breeding stock? Pathetic." Ravina coughed, her voice faint but sharp. "I am not property." Kareth kicked her aside. She hit the wall and lay still, barely breathing. Ray felt something break inside his chest. He wasn't a warrior. But seeing Ravina thrown like that, seeing her struggle to live, ignited something deep in him. He charged Kareth with both fists. It was stupid. It was reckless. But he didn't care. Kareth backhanded him hard. Ray flew across the room, hitting the floor so hard it knocked the breath out of him. "Stay down," Kareth growled. "You are weak. You are nothing." Ray pushed himself up again, vision blurry. "I'm still standing. Aren't I?" Kareth lifted his rifle. "This ends now." Before he could fire, Ray grabbed a metal pipe from the floor and flung it into the hanging lantern above. It shattered, spilling burning fuel everywhere. Fire burst across the floor, forcing Kareth to step back. Ray used the moment and crawled to Ravina. "Ravina, we need to move." Her body was shutting down again, but she forced her eyes open. "There is an escape tunnel under your cabin," she whispered. "I sensed it," Ray blinked. "How?" "I heard the air. You humans never listen to the ground." Ray quickly pulled away the rug, revealing a small hatch he rarely used. He opened it and lifted Ravina into his arms. Ravina's head rested weakly against his chest. "Ray, you fought for me." He carried her into the tunnel. "Of course I did." Kareth roared as flames grew behind them. "Ravina, human. You cannot run forever." Ray slammed the hatch shut and locked it. The tunnel was dark and narrow, but it was their only chance. Ravina whispered one last thing before losing consciousness. "You are the first human to fight for me." Ray held her closer. "And I won't be the last." Together, they disappeared into the shadows, hunted, exhausted, but alive. The escape tunnel was narrow, dark, and cold. Ray had to bend low as he moved, carrying Ravina's weakening body in his arms. Her head rested against his chest, her skin burning with unnatural heat. Every few steps, she gasped like she was drowning in invisible flames. "Stay with me," Ray whispered, his voice shaking. Ravina's golden eyes opened a little. The glow was dim now, like a dying star. I am trying," she breathed. "But the shutdown is moving. Fastest." Ray didn't understand alien biology, but he understood fear. And Ravina, the proud huntress who once stood tall and fierce, now clung to life by a thin thread. Behind them, distant metal thuds echoed through the tunnel entrance. Kareth's voice roared faintly. "Run all you want. Humans always crawl back to their graves." Ray quickened his pace. The tunnel eventually opened into an old mining chamber. Rusted tools lay scattered, and broken support beams leaned dangerously. Ray set Ravina down gently on a soft patch of dust and checked her breathing. She was fading. Faster than before, her body shook with violent spasms, like she was fighting something under her skin. "Ravina, talk to me," Ray urged. She swallowed hard, speaking through pain. "My people, when we face death, our bodies seek a mate instinctively. The shutdown begins. To force bonding. If the bond does not happen, everything collapses." Ray clenched his fists. "There must be another way. Medicine? Treatment? Something." Ravina shook her head slowly. "They removed my tribe's medicine from my body when they took me. The slavers wanted control." She winced, gripping her chest. "My organs are slowing. My heart is breaking. Not from emotion, but from biology." Ray looked around the chamber helplessly. He had bandages and tools, but nothing that could stop a failing alien body. He sat beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Ravina, I'm here. I won't let you die alone." Her lips trembled, not from pain this time, but from something far deeper. "No one has ever said that to me," she whispered. "Not even my own people." Ray looked into her dimming eyes. "Then they didn't deserve you." A small, fragile smile touched the corner of her mouth, but suddenly her body arched in agony. She let out a sharp cry as a violent tremor ran through her limbs. Ray held her gently. "Ravina, it's the next stage," she gasped. "Once it reaches my heart, I will not survive." Ray felt something twist inside him, fear, anger, helplessness all burning together. "Tell me what you need," Ray whispered fiercely. "Tell me how to save you." Ravina's eyes opened halfway, shimmering with tears she never allowed herself to show. "My tribe believed that bonding was sacred. Two hearts sharing strength. Two lives linked. Not forced. Not broken." She shook her head, trying to stop more tears. "I did not want my first bond to be in desperation." Ray swallowed hard. "I understand." "No," she whispered. "You don't, because you are kind. And I am becoming desperate." The slavers made sure of that. Another wave of pain hit her. She clutched Ray's arm, her claws digging in, but Ray didn't pull away. "Ravina," he said gently, "listen to me. If bonding will save you, I won't let you die because of pride or traditions. But I won't do anything unless you truly want it." Her breathing slowed, but she looked at him with a fragile certainty. "I want to live," she whispered. "And I want you to be the one to save me. Not because of biology, but because you looked at me like I mattered." Ray didn't speak. He couldn't. Her words hit him deeper than he expected. But before he could answer, a loud metallic crash echoed through the tunnels, far closer than before. Ravina's eyes widened in fear. "Kareth." He found the second entrance. Ray stood up fast. "We need to move." He tried lifting her again, but her body wouldn't respond. Her limbs felt limp, weak, heavy. "Ray," she whispered, "my legs. I can't move them anymore." Ray looked into her eyes, terrified for her. Furious at the hunters, desperate for time they did not have. "You're not dying here," he said, voice shaking but full of certainty. "Not while I'm still breathing." Ravina's hand found his cheek weakly. "You are strange," she whispered. "A human who fights for someone broken. A human who carries a dying huntress through darkness. As if she is precious." Ray swallowed the lump in his throat. "Because you are." The sound of boots echoed again, close, sharp. Deadly. Ray grabbed Ravina in his arms and stepped deeper into the mine. Searching for any escape, behind them, Kareth's voice thundered. "Ravina! Human, your running ends now." Ray held her tighter. Her heart was failing. His strength was fading. The enemy was closing in, but he refused to let the story end here. Asterisk. The deeper Ray carried Ravina into the mine, the colder the air became. Water dripped from the ceiling, echoing like slow heartbeats. Ravina's breathing was weakening with every minute. Her skin had turned paler than before, almost gray. "She's close," Ray whispered. Feeling her pulse, a weak flutter under shaking skin, Ravina opened her eyes halfway. "Ray, don't stay for me, you. You can escape alone." Ray almost laughed. "And leave you? Not a chance." Before Ravina could answer, an explosion echoed behind them, shaking dust from the ceiling. Stones cracked and fell. Kareth had blown open the second entrance. His voice filled the tunnels like thunder. "Human! Ravina, you can't hide. I will tear this mine apart." Ray cursed under his breath. He scanned the forgotten chamber around them, broken lifts, abandoned metal crates, old mining tools, and unstable support beams. An idea sparked. He gently placed Ravina behind an overturned mining cart. "Stay here. Don't move." She grabbed his wrist weakly. "Ray, you can't face him. He is stronger, faster." "I'm not trying to face him," Ray whispered. "I'm trying to trap him." Ravina blinked slowly. "A trap?" Ray nodded and moved across the chamber. He found power charges left from old mining operations, small explosive canisters once used to break rock walls. He gathered as many as he could carry. Behind him, Ravina struggled to stay conscious. The shutdown inside her body was reaching a deadly stage. Every breath looked painful. Her thoughts blurred. She didn't know what scared her more, Kareth coming, or the possibility that she wouldn't live to see Ray return. Heavy footsteps approached. Kareth entered the chamber, carrying a stun rifle in one hand and a glowing blade in the other. His armor flickered with damage from their earlier fight. He scanned the room. "Ravina," he growled. "Come out. I can smell your dying body." Ravina squeezed her eyes shut in fear. Kareth looked around again. "Human, I know you are here too. I will let you die first quickly if you surrender." Ray stepped out from behind a pillar, hands raised as if giving up. Kareth's eyes widened behind his mask. You crawl out like a defeated worm?" Ray forced a nervous smile. "Something like that." Kareth pointed his glowing blade toward him. "Where is the female?" Ray shrugged. "Hidden. And she's not your female." Kareth's patience snapped. He lunged forward with frightening speed. Ray ducked behind a support beam. Kareth's blade sliced through the wood like butter. The entire beam cracked and fell. Dust choked the air. "Stop running." Kareth roared. Ray didn't stop. He moved around the chamber, throwing small objects, making echoes bounce. Kareth swung blindly, growing angrier. "You think tricks will save you?" Ray reached the cluster of mining charges he set up earlier. His heart pounded. He prayed the old equipment still worked. Kareth stormed toward him. Ray pulled the trigger on the old detonator. A chain of explosions erupted across the tunnel. Boom! 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 Rock walls collapsed. Fire flashed. Debris flew everywhere. A shockwave knocked Ray off his feet. He hit the ground hard but rolled away. Just before a giant rock smashed the floor beside him, Kareth staggered but didn't fall completely. His armor was strong, too strong, but Ray wasn't done. He grabbed another explosive charge and threw it directly at Kareth's chest. It stuck. Kareth looked down in surprise. "What?" Ray hit the detonator again. A massive blast threw Kareth against the wall. His mask cracked. His armor burned. He roared in anger and pain. This time he struggled to stand. "You human!" he snarled, stumbling. Ray didn't back up. He picked up a metal rod from the ground. "You're not taking her," he said calmly. Kareth coughed, black smoke rising from his armor. "She will die anyway. Her heart is failing." Her body needs a mate. You can't stop that. Ree's grip tightened on the rod. I can try. Kareth laughed a broken, furious sound. You think she would choose you? You are not even her species. Ree's voice hardened. She chose to trust me. That's enough. Kareth lunged again, slower this time. Ray dodged, swung the rod, and smashed it into the cracked part of Kareth's mask. The mask shattered. Kareth collapsed to his knees. Ray stood over him, trembling from exhaustion but refusing to fall. Kareth looked up, breathing hard. You win this time. But she still dies. Ray didn't answer. He just walked away, leaving Kareth gasping in the rubble like a defeated beast. Ray rushed back to Iana. She was trembling, barely conscious. Her skin had lost almost all color. Her breathing was shallow. Ray, she whispered weakly. Is he gone? Yes, Ray said softly, kneeling beside her. It's over. She tried to smile but couldn't. My heart is almost done, Ray. I can't fight anymore. Ray held her hand. I won't let you die. Ravina gazed at him, tears forming in her dim gold eyes. You can't stop. Biology. My heart needs a bond, or it will stop. Ray brushed a hand across her cheek gently. Then tell me how. Tell me how to save you. Her breath trembled. Her hands reached for him, weak but certain. Stay with me. Choose me. She whispered. Let me bond with you. Before everything ends. Ray swallowed hard. He had defeated a hunter. But now, Ravina's life depended on something far harder. A choice only he could make. Ravina's breath was now only a faint whisper. Her golden eyes flickered like candlelight, fighting to stay alive. Ray could feel her pulse weakening under his fingertips, fading, slowing, slipping toward a silence he could not accept. He wiped the dust from her face. His voice trembled. Ravina, stay with me. I'm right here. Her hand lifted weakly, touching his cheek with shaking fingers. You saved me again. Even when I was not worth saving. Ray grabbed her hand gently. Don't say that. You're worth everything. A tear escaped her eye, not from pain, but something deeper. No one has ever said that to me, she whispered. Not even in my tribe. Her body jerked suddenly as another wave of shutdown hit. She gasped and curled forward, clutching her chest. Ray held her tightly. It's okay, he whispered. I've got you. No, she breathed. Not okay. My heart is stopping. Ray felt panic twist through him. He didn't know alien medicine, but he knew one thing. This wasn't just physical pain. Her biology was demanding a bond, a connection, a mate. Or it would kill her. Ravina's vision blurred. Ray! Listen, I'm listening, he said quickly. If I bond with someone, the shutdown ends. My organs restart. My heart stabilizes my body. Heals, her voice cracked. But bonding is not just physical. It is emotional, spiritual, a joining of our life threads. Ray shook his head. You don't have to explain. I understand. Tears blurred her eyes again. Do you? Bonding means you share pieces of yourself with me. You let me inside your heart, and I let you inside mine. Forever. Ray looked at her, truly looked. At the warrior who had crawled to his door. At the woman who begged for life with trembling hands. At the fighter who refused to break even when everything was taken from her. He placed a hand over her chest, feeling her fading heartbeat. Ravina, I want to save you. Not because I have to. Because I choose to. Her breath caught. You choose me? Yes, Ray said softly. If bonding will save your life, then I'm with you, completely. Her tremors slowed for a moment, She stared at him as if trying to memorize every detail of his face. "Ray," she whispered, her voice barely a thread. "Then let me bond with you." He held both her hands. "Tell me what to do." Ravina lifted his hands and pressed them over her heart. "Stay close. Stay connected. Let your heartbeat guide mine." Ray leaned forward, wrapping his arms around her gently. She rested her forehead against his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his human heartbeat. Slowly, painfully, she let her energy reach his. A soft glow spread across her skin, dim but growing brighter. Ray felt warmth moving through him, not burning but connecting. Like two heartbeats learning the same song, Ravina gasped. Her pulse fluttered, then steadied. Her body trembled violently one last time, then relaxed out. Her breathing deepened. Color returned to her cheeks. Her heart, once fading, began to beat strong again. The bond worked. Ravina collapsed into Ray's embrace, exhausted but alive. He held her tightly. "Ravina, can you hear me?" She opened her eyes, bright, golden, and full of life again. "Yes," she whispered. "I hear you." Ray exhaled a shaky breath, relief flooding through him, but their moment was interrupted by a low groan behind them. A Roth. He had survived the collapse. Barely. His armor was cracked, his mask destroyed. Smoke rose from his chest plate as he staggered to his feet. "You bonded with her," he growled. "Impossible. A human cannot form a huntress bond." Ravina's expression hardened, stronger than before, stronger than she had been in hours. "You do not decide what is possible for me." Kareth stepped forward, but even he could see Ravina was no longer dying. Her posture was different, her strength returning. The bond had awakened the warrior inside her. Ravina rose slowly, leaning on Ray for a moment, until she steadied herself. "Ray," she whispered, "stay behind me." Ray nodded, but did not move far. Kareth drew his blade, but his movements were sluggish. "You think you can fight me now? You are still weak." Ravina lifted her chin. "I'm not fighting for myself," she said softly. "I'm fighting for the one who kept me alive." Her eyes glowed fiercely. Kareth charged. Ravina caught his wrist mid-swing. He stared in shock. "You lost the moment he chose me," she said coldly. With the strength of a true huntress, she twisted his arm and slammed him to the ground. The blade fell from his hand. Ray kicked it away. Kareth roared in defeat, but he was finished. Ravina stood over him. "I am not your property. I am not your mate. And I am not afraid of you anymore." Kareth collapsed, too weak to rise. Ravina turned to Ray, exhaustion and tenderness mixing in her golden eyes. "You saved me," she whispered. "And now, we face the future together." Ray touched her cheek gently. "Together." Outside, the first light of dawn entered the mine. Two different worlds. Two different lives. Now bonded, by choice, by survival, by something deeper than both understood, and their story was only beginning.